Okay, in this lecture we're going to create a bar chart. And we've already created a column chart and then we've spent a little time formatting it and cleaning it up. So we're going to use those skills that we just learned to create a bar chart. So we're going to make a chart that looks something like this. And you can see it basically has the same data as our column chart, except that it's horizontal. And the good thing about a bar chart is that it makes the differences in the values more pronounced. So you can see that the flooring really stands out as being the most expensive thing, whereas the cabinet handles are very short, so they stand out along with the paint as being the least expensive. So let's go ahead and dive in and create one of these. Of course, we start with our basic kitchen remodeling cost worksheet, and we're going to highlight the data that we want in our chart. And remember how we had highlighted this whole range and then I had to go into the select data and delete the quantity and the cost? Another thing you could do to avoid having to do that is just select the exact data that you want by selecting the first column and then holding down the control button and selecting the second column. That way we're just getting the data that we want and not getting the data that we don't want. Then of course we go to Insert and Charts, and we'll just use our recommended chart tool again, and you'll see it's going to recommend a bar chart. Because our data was a lot simpler for Excel to interpret, it was more easily able to come up with a relevant chart. So it's got this clustered bar chart, which is exactly what I wanted to show you. So I'll click OK, and there's our chart. And we'll just go in and modify this, change that, call this cost of rent materials, make that a little bigger. Go in and take out these grids by hitting delete. Take out this bottom axis, and we'll just go with the green. And remember, if we wanted to change this so that these were all different colors, we'd have to go in, select on these, right click, go to Format Data Series, go to Fill, and vary colors by point. So now it's created a gradient based on the color scheme that I selected right here. If I went with one of these multicolored ones, then it would be all different. But we're going to stick with the green, and in fact we're going to get rid of the gradient, so we're going to keep all the colors the same, but we are going to go to the gap width and we're going to increase the gap width a bit just to make them a little thicker. There we go. So now we have our chart pretty well cleaned up. We need to add in our data labels. Perfect. Okay, so we have a pretty good looking chart now, but the one thing I'd like to fix, which I don't love, is that these numbers are all sort of out of sequence. So we have a small one down here, a small one up here, big one in the middle. What I want to do is make these nice and orderly so they follow a nice trend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort my spreadsheet over here. We could have put this into a table, which we'll talk about later in the course, but in this case we're just going to use a simple sort tool. So you can see I've selected all of my data, including my headings, all the way down, not including my total. And notice right now these numbers are all out of order. So I'm going to click on Sort, and this has our columns, Sort On, and our order. And notice also this says my data has headers. I leave that checked because you can see it's recognizing that the headers are not part of the data that's to be sorted. So first I go by the sort by value, and that's giving me my header titles, and I pick which one I want. So I want to sort by total. So click that, and then I say sort on, and you have various options here. You can go by cell color, font color, but we're just going by values, right? Because those are the numbers in the cells. And then in what order do you want to sort your data? And I'll give you one tip here. If I sort this by largest to smallest, that's typically how you would want it to look, because you want your biggest number on the top and your smallest number on the bottom. If I do that, the chart is actually going to invert that. So if I go in here and I click smallest to largest in here, then it's going to look exactly how I want it to look in my chart. So I'll do that and I'll click OK. And then you'll see that my chart has responded to the sorting, and now we have a nice clean visual of our lowest cost to highest cost items from our spreadsheet. And one last thing we could do to add even more emphasis to this trend here is we could go back into this data series Click Format Data Series, go back to our fill, and go back to Vary Colors by Point, like we were doing before with our other chart, and click that. Now you'll notice that doesn't look awesome because the largest bar is the lightest, which is not what we want. So we'll get out of that and we'll go back to our colors. You can see right now I'm selected on this gradient from darkest to lightest, but if I scroll down a little bit more, it has the same colors but with a gradient from lightest to darkest. So we can select that one, and now we have an even stronger emphasis toward the most expensive material from our chart. So you could do that, or you could just leave it as a simple, clean bar chart. So that's how you create and format a bar chart.